The breaking point, the final divorce papers felt heavier than they should have as Olivia Winters placed them into her desk drawer. 6 years of marriage, dissolved into nothing but legal terminology and a splitting of assets that left her with a small apartment and not much else. At 32, this wasn't where she had imagined herself. "You'll never make it on your own." Trevor's words still echoed in her ears from their last encounter at the courthouse. "That art studio dream of yours, pathetic? You can barely finish a painting worth hanging in a motel room." Olivia glanced at her easel in the corner of the living room, a half-finished landscape catching the afternoon light. He was right about one thing. She hadn't finished a painting in months. The divorce had drained her creativity along with her confidence. Her phone buzzed with a text. "Speaking of the devil, just drove past that dump you call an apartment. Guess that's all you deserve. Enjoy mediocrity." Olivia resisted the urge to respond. Dr. Josephine, her therapist, had advised her to establish clear boundaries. No contact was the healthiest option, but Trevor seemed determined to remind her of his presence and her supposed failings. "One day at a time," she whispered to herself, a mantra that had carried her through the past 6 months. The following morning, Olivia forced herself out of bed. Her job as a graphic designer at Horizon Marketing paid the bills, though it wasn't the creative fulfillment she craved. Still, it was stability, something Trevor had claimed she could never maintain without him. "Morning, Liv," her colleague Danica greeted as Olivia settled at her desk. "You look like you could use this." She placed a coffee on Olivia's desk, black with 1 sugar, just as she liked it. "The divorce is final," Olivia said, taking a grateful sip. Danica squeezed her shoulder. "That's good news. Clean break, fresh start. Tell that to Trevor. He texted me again last night." "Block him," Danica said firmly. "He's toxic, Liv, you know that." Before Olivia could respond, their boss Elijah appeared at her cubicle. "Olivia, the Pembroke account needs your attention. Their CEO is particular about the branding for their new resort line." "I'm on it," Olivia assured him, grateful for the distraction. The Pembroke account consumed her day. By evening, she had produced 3 concept boards that even Elijah, normally sparing with praise, deemed exceptional. It was a small victory, but Olivia allowed herself to savor it. Walking home, Olivia paused outside Brushstrokes, the local art supply store. Through the window, she could see a flyer advertising weekend workshops. Something tugged at her, that buried dream that Trevor had so effectively mocked into submission. "You're not good enough," had been Trevor's constant refrain throughout their marriage, especially when she'd talk about pursuing art more seriously. He'd showcase her attempts to his friends with thinly veiled derision. "Look at what my wife thinks is art." The humiliation still burned. Inside her apartment, another text waited. "Saw your company got the Pembroke account. They'll regret letting you anywhere near it. Remember that disaster presentation you did for my investors?" Olivia's hand trembled. That presentation. Trevor had sabotaged her slides the night before, making her look incompetent in front of his business partners. He'd comforted her afterward, saying she simply wasn't cut out for the professional world. Instead of replying, Olivia did something she hadn't done in months. She walked to her easel, uncovered the half-finished landscape, and picked up a brush. The strokes came hesitantly at first, then with growing confidence. "This is for me," she whispered. Not for him, not for anyone else. By midnight, the painting was complete, a sunrise breaking through storm clouds. It wasn't perfect, but it was finished. It was hers. As she cleaned her brushes, Olivia made a decision. Tomorrow, she would sign up for that workshop at Brushstrokes, and she would finally block Trevor's number. The breaking point hadn't been the divorce itself, but the realization that she had allowed someone else to define her worth for far too long. As she fell asleep that night for the first time in years, Olivia felt the faintest stirring of hope. Unexpected encounter. 3 months after finalizing her divorce, Olivia found herself in a rhythm that almost resembled normalcy. Her weekdays were filled with design projects at Horizon Marketing, while her weekends belonged to the art workshops at Brushstrokes. She had completed 4 paintings since that night of reclamation. none masterpieces, but each one a testament to her growing confidence. The Pembroke account had become her professional triumph. Her designs for their luxury resort line had not only pleased the client, but earned her a bonus and increased responsibilities at the firm. Elijah had even hinted at a potential promotion if she kept up the momentum. "You should showcase your work at the Riverside Gallery's open submission next month," suggested Priya, her instructor at brushstrokes, examining Olivia's latest landscape. "Your technique has improved dramatically." Olivia hesitated. "I'm not sure I'm ready for that kind of exposure." "That sounds like someone else's voice, not yours," Priya said gently. "Think about it." As Olivia packed up her supplies, she couldn't deny the truth in Priya's observation. Even months after cutting contact, Trevor's dismissive assessments still haunted her decisions. The following Tuesday, Olivia was assigned to represent Horizon at the annual Business Innovation Conference. Normally, Elijah would attend such events, but a family emergency had created an unexpected opportunity. "Just network, hand out cards, and take notes on potential clients," he instructed. "No pressure to close deals." The conference venue, the prestigious Atherton Hotel, was intimidating in its grandeur. Olivia smoothed down her navy blue blazer, grateful she'd splurged on a professional wardrobe update after her bonus. The old Olivia would have felt like an imposter. Today's Olivia reminded herself she belonged here just as much as anyone. During a panel discussion on sustainable business practices, Olivia found herself drawn to the words of one particular speaker, Nikhil Dar, founder of EcoDar Innovations. Unlike the other panelists who spoke in corporate platitudes, Nikhil articulated a vision of business ethics that seemed genuinely authentic. "Profit without purpose is ultimately unsustainable," he stated during the Q&A session. "The businesses that will thrive in the next decade are those that recognize their responsibility to both people and planet." At the networking reception afterward, Olivia circulated professionally, exchanging business cards and making connections as instructed. She was in conversation with a potential client when she felt someone approach from behind. "Your questions during the panel were thoughtful," a voice remarked. "Most people don't consider the intersection of design ethics and sustainability." Olivia turned to find Nikhil Dar himself, tall, with intelligent eyes and a warm smile that contrasted with his formal attire. In person, he lacked the intimidating aura that his credentials might suggest. Forbes had recently listed him among the 40 under 40 billionaires revolutionizing the tech industry. Yet, he carried himself with understated confidence. "I'm passionate about responsible design," Olivia replied, surprised by her own steady voice. "It's something we prioritize at Horizon." "Horizon Marketing?" "I'm familiar with your work on the Pembroke campaign. The integration of local artisan elements was inspired." The conversation flowed with unexpected ease. Nikhil listened, truly listened, as Olivia shared her thoughts on design trends and ethical marketing. There was no condescension in his responses, no subtle undermining that she'd grown so accustomed to with Trevor. "I'm looking to rebrand the philanthropic arm of EcoDar," Nikhil mentioned as they exchanged business cards. "Would Horizon be interested in submitting a proposal?" "Absolutely," Olivia replied, professionalism masking her excitement at such an opportunity. As she left the conference, clutching Nikhil's card with its embossed sustainable bamboo finish, Olivia's phone chimed with a notification. Despite having blocked his number, Trevor had found a way to email her. "Heard you're representing Horizon now? Must be desperate for talent these days. Don't embarrass yourself too badly." For the first time, the words didn't sting as they once would have. Olivia deleted the email without responding and turned her attention to drafting notes for the EcoDar proposal. Some voices didn't deserve space in her life anymore, especially when new ones offered respect instead of ridicule. That night, Olivia submitted her application to the Riverside Gallery's open exhibition. Then she began a new painting, this one featuring a single monarch butterfly emerging from its chrysalis against a vast blue sky. Transformation had never felt so tangible. Blossoming connection. The EcoDar proposal consumed Olivia's professional life for the next 2 weeks. Elijah had been ecstatic about the potential client, and gave her full creative control, a vote of confidence that would have seemed impossible 6 months earlier. Her concept centered around authentic storytelling, highlighting the human impact of EcoDar's initiatives rather than corporate self-congratulation. This is exceptional work. Olivia, Elijah commented during their final review. Whatever happened at that conference? I'm glad I sent you. The presentation was scheduled at EcoDar's headquarters, a sustainable building of glass and reclaimed timber on the city's revitalized waterfront. As Olivia waited in the sleek reception area, nerves fluttered in her stomach. This account could be transformative for Horizon and for her career. Nikhil greeted her personally, eschewing the corporate formality she'd expected. "I've been looking forward to this," he said, leading her toward the conference room. "The preliminary concepts your team sent over were promising. The meeting exceeded all expectations." Nikhil's executive team responded enthusiastically to Horizon's proposal, asking thoughtful questions rather than seeking to undermine. Throughout the presentation, Olivia noticed how Nikhil created space for his team members to speak, valuing each contribution without dominating the conversation, so different from Trevor's need to be the loudest voice in any room. "We'd like to move forward with Horizon," Nikhil announced at the meeting's conclusion. "Your approach aligns perfectly with our vision." As the others filed out, Nikhil hesitated. "Would you be interested in continuing this conversation over dinner? I have some additional thoughts about the community engagement aspect." Professional boundaries blurred with personal interest as Olivia accepted. They met that evening at Terrene, a farm-to-table restaurant overlooking the harbor. Business discussion gradually yielded to more personal conversation. Nikhil's childhood in Mumbai before moving to the States for college, Olivia's rediscovered passion for painting. "I'd love to see your work sometime," Nikhil said with genuine interest. "Actually, I have a piece being exhibited at the Riverside Gallery next weekend," Olivia replied, still surprised by her own boldness in submitting her work. "I'll be there," Nikhil promised. The following weeks brought a natural progression in their relationship. Professional collaboration on the EcoDar Foundation rebrand provided the foundation, but their connection clearly extended beyond work. Nikhil attended the gallery exhibition as promised, standing thoughtfully before Olivia's butterfly emergence painting for long minutes before seeking her out. "You've captured something profound there," he told her, his admiration evident. "The vulnerability and strength simultaneously present in transformation." Their third dinner together ended with a kiss that felt like beginning rather than culmination. Nikhil's approach to romance mirrored his business philosophy: thoughtful, ethical, attentive. He respected her boundaries, understood her hesitation given her recent divorce, and never pushed for more than she was ready to give. "I haven't told you everything about my marriage," Olivia admitted one evening as they walked along the riverfront. It wasn't just a growing apart. Trevor was systematically cruel. Nikhil listened without judgment as she shared the patterns of belittlement, the subtle erosion of her confidence, the public humiliations disguised as jokes. His hand remained steady in hers, a quiet anchor. "Thank you for trusting me with that," he said simply when she finished. "It takes tremendous courage to rebuild after someone has tried to diminish you." That night, Olivia stayed at Nikhil's penthouse for the first time. Their intimacy was tender, affirming, healing in ways she hadn't known she needed. Afterward, wrapped in his embrace, Olivia realized she hadn't thought about Trevor's opinions in weeks. Of course, that's precisely when reality intruded. A message appeared on her professional LinkedIn account the following morning. "Noticed you're working with EcoDar now. Sleeping your way to success, Livy? Always knew you'd need to resort to that eventually." The familiar acid of shame threatened to rise, but Olivia refused it entry. Instead, she showed the message to Nikhil over breakfast. "I can have him blocked from contacting you through any platform," Nikhil offered, anger evident beneath his controlled tone. "This is harassment." "No," Olivia decided. "I'm not hiding anymore. His words only have the power I give them." She replied to Trevor's message with professional courtesy. "All Horizon client relationships are handled with appropriate business ethics." Please refrain from further unprofessional communications. Then she blocked him, closed her laptop, and returned to breakfast with Nikhil, who looked at her with something approaching reverence. "You," he said quietly, "are remarkably strong." For the first time in years, Olivia believed it might actually be true. Life-changing news: 6 months into their relationship, Olivia and Nikhil had established a rhythm that balanced their demanding careers with deepening emotional connection. Olivia had been promoted to creative director at Horizon following the success of several high-profile campaigns, including the award-winning EcoDar Foundation rebrand. Her weekends still belonged to her art, now displayed in 2 local galleries, and increasingly, to building a life with Nikhil. They hadn't officially moved in together, but Olivia spent most nights at Nikhil's penthouse, finding inspiration in its wall-to-wall windows overlooking the city. For his part, Nikhil had cleared an entire room for her to use as a studio, filling it with professional-grade supplies and perfect natural lighting. "This isn't charity," he'd insisted when she'd initially protested such generosity. "It's investment in extraordinary talent." The morning sickness began so subtly that Olivia dismissed it as stress-related. The deadline for Horizon's biggest pitch of the year loomed, and she'd been working 14-hour days. It wasn't until Danica, now her deputy creative director, pointed out that Olivia had excused herself from 3 client meetings in one day that the possibility arose. "When was your last period?" Danica asked bluntly over lunch that Olivia was mostly pushing around her plate. The question stopped Olivia cold. Between work intensity and her irregular cycle, she hadn't noticed the weeks sliding by without her usual tracking. "I can't be," she whispered. "We're careful." "Careful isn't foolproof," Danica replied pragmatically. "There's a pharmacy around the corner." The test, and the 2 confirmatory ones that followed, delivered unequivocal results. Pregnant, approximately 8 weeks. According to the dates, Olivia sat on the edge of her bathtub, mind racing. A baby hadn't featured in her reclamation plans. She'd only just found her professional footing, only just rediscovered her artistic voice. And while things with Nikhil were profoundly right, they were still new. What if this changed everything? Trevor's voice intruded unwelcome. "You can barely take care of yourself." "Imagine the disaster you'd be as a mother." "No," Olivia said aloud to the empty bathroom. "You don't get a vote anymore." She called Nikhil, asking if they could meet that evening rather than waiting for their planned weekend together. Something in her voice must have conveyed urgency, because he immediately rearranged his schedule. They met at the riverfront park, where they'd had their first real conversation outside of work. Autumn leaves spiraled down around them as they walked. Olivia uncharacteristically quiet. "Whatever it is," Nikhil said gently, "we'll figure it out together." Olivia stopped walking, turning to face him directly. "I'm pregnant." For a moment, Nikhil simply stared at her, his expression unreadable. Then slowly, a smile of such genuine joy spread across his face that Olivia felt her anxiety begin to dissolve. That's wonderful," he said, voice thick with emotion. "Isn't it?" He caught himself, tempering his reaction. "How do you feel about it?" The question, so simple yet so profound in its respect for her autonomy, confirmed everything she valued about this man. "Terrified," Olivia admitted. "Excited. Overwhelmed. I never imagined myself as a mother, especially after years of being told I'd be terrible at it." Nikhil's eyes darkened momentarily. "Trevor again?" She nodded. "It's not just that. My career is finally taking off. My art is finding an audience. A baby changes everything." "It does," Nikhil agreed, taking her hands. "But change isn't necessarily sacrifice. Whatever you decide, Olivia, I'm with you completely." They talked for hours that night, exploring all possibilities with honest vulnerability. By morning, Olivia had made her decision. They would embrace this unexpected journey together. The following weeks brought doctor's appointments, tentative planning, and a deepening of their relationship beyond what Olivia had thought possible. Nikhil attended every medical visit, asked thoughtful questions, and began researching non-traditional parenting approaches that would support Olivia's career and artistic pursuits. Rather than diminishing them, we could convert the guest, wing into a combined nursery and studio, he suggested. One evening, as they reviewed architectural plans for his penthouse, sound-proofed walls but with a monitoring system so you could paint while the baby naps. Such practical support, anticipating her needs before she even articulated them, was healing in ways Olivia couldn't quite name. At 12 weeks, they decided to share the news publicly. Olivia informed Elijah and her team at Horizon, receiving enthusiastic congratulations and immediate assurances about maternity leave policies. They planned a dinner to tell Nikhil's parents, who were visiting from Mumbai the following weekend. The day before that dinner, Olivia received a certified letter from Trevor's attorney. Her hands trembled as she opened it, expecting some new form of harassment. Instead, it contained divorce documents requiring her signature. Apparently, Trevor was planning to remarry and needed confirmation of their legal dissolution. A sticky note in Trevor's handwriting was attached, finalizing details for my engagement to Jessica. She's everything you weren't, successful, supportive, actually wife material. Hope you're enjoying continued mediocrity. Olivia read the note twice, feeling oddly detached from its intended sting. The Trevor, who had once loomed so large in her consciousness, now seemed pathetically small, a footnote rather than a defining chapter. As she prepared to sign the documents, her phone rang with a familiar number she hadn't seen in months. "Against better judgment," she answered. "Livy," Trevor's voice oozed false warmth. "Got my papers? Just need your signature so I can move on to bigger and better things. Jessica's father is merging his company with mine, the kind of advantageous match you never could have provided." Olivia listened to the subtle digs embedded in his seemingly casual conversation, recognizing the manipulative patterns that had once devastated her self-worth. "The papers are fine, Trevor. I'll sign and return them tomorrow." "Great. Heard you're still with that tech charity guy. Slumming it with do-gooders now." "I always said you lacked ambition." Olivia placed a protective hand over her still flat abdomen, feeling a fierce surge of something new, not just self-respect, but determination to protect her child from ever knowing such toxicity. "Actually, Trevor," she said calmly, "I'm pregnant with Nikhil's child. We couldn't be happier. I wish you well with Jessica. Genuinely. Goodbye." She ended the call before he could respond, savoring the rare sensation of having rendered Trevor Reed completely speechless. Full circle. The nursery walls were the precise shade of sunrise that Olivia had mixed herself, a warm, gentle peach that seemed to glow from within. She added delicate finishing touches to the mural spanning the eastern wall, a landscape of mountains and valleys, with a river winding through that matched the one visible from their windows. Butterflies in various stages of metamorphosis were scattered throughout the scene, her personal signature and a continuing theme in both her commercial work and personal art. At 7 months pregnant, Olivia had found an unexpected harmony between her expanding roles. Horizon had enthusiastically embraced her transition to consultant status, allowing her to work remotely on select clients while training her successor. Her paintings, now focused on themes of transformation and renewal, had been featured in a solo exhibition at Riverside Gallery. With 3 pieces purchased by the Contemporary Art Museum for their permanent collection, and then there was Nikhil, whose unwavering support had made everything possible. He had restructured Echodar's leadership to allow himself more flexibility once the baby arrived, implemented company-wide policies supporting working parents, and approached impending fatherhood with the same thoughtful intentionality he brought to everything. "It's perfect," Nikhil said from the doorway, admiring the completed mural. "Though I'm still not convinced you should be on a ladder at this stage." Olivia climbed down carefully, wiping paint-speckled hands on her overalls. "Doctor cleared me for light activity. Besides, I wanted it finished before the baby shower." "Tomorrow." The baby shower, a co-ed celebration instigated by Danica and enthusiastically expanded by Nikhil's executive assistant Fareed, had evolved into something approaching a gala. Friends, colleagues, and family would be gathering at their newly purchased brownstone to celebrate the impending arrival of their daughter. "Have you decided about the invitation situation?" Nikhil asked carefully, helping Olivia clear her painting supplies. The situation was Trevor's unexpected response to learning of Olivia's pregnancy. 2 days after their phone conversation, an extravagant flower arrangement had arrived at Horizon's offices with a card reading, "Congratulations on your expanding family. Let's put the past behind us. Would love to reconnect, Trevor." Similar overtures had followed, emails expressing regret for any misunderstandings. A donation in Olivia's, named to the Arts Foundation that had provided her first scholarship. Even a chance running into at her favorite cafe that seemed suspiciously orchestrated. "He's not coming to the shower," Olivia said firmly. "Whatever game he's playing, I'm not interested." "Good," Nikhil replied, visible relief in his expression. "I admit I've been concerned by his sudden reappearance." "Jessica called me," Olivia revealed, something she'd been processing privately. Apparently, Trevor's acquisition of her father's company fell through when they discovered some creative accounting practices. The engagement ended shortly after. Nikhil's expression darkened. "So his renewed interest in you coincides with the public announcement of our daughter potentially inheriting part of Ecodar someday. Convenient." "My thoughts exactly," Olivia agreed. "Which is why I've blocked him on every platform again and instructed Horizon's reception to refuse his deliveries." The baby shower unfolded beautifully despite early autumn rain that forced the celebration indoors. Their brownstone, a perfect blend of historic architecture and modern comfort, easily accommodated the diverse gathering. Olivia found herself surrounded by genuine connection, Danica organizing baby-themed games with characteristic efficiency, Priya from Brushstrokes presenting a collective gift from all Olivia's fellow artists, Nikhil's parents beaming with joy over traditional Indian baby gifts alongside modern necessities. "You've created quite a life," Danica observed, joining Olivia as she took a moment of quiet in the nursery, away from the festive noise. "It's a long way from where you were that day you put those divorce papers in your desk drawer." "Sometimes I can hardly believe it myself," Olivia admitted, running her hand along the custom bookshelf Nikhil had built, already filled with diverse children's literature. "I spent so many years believing I wasn't enough. And now?" Olivia smiled, feeling her daughter's insistent kick against her palm. "Now I know I always was. I just needed to recognize it myself." The doorbell interrupted their conversation. Through the nursery window, Olivia could see a familiar car parked across the street. Trevor's silver Audi, unmistakable with its custom license plate. "You've got to be kidding me," Danica muttered, following her gaze. "Want me to send him packing?" "No," Olivia decided after a moment's consideration. "I'll handle this." Downstairs, Fareed was already intercepting Trevor at the door, politely but firmly explaining that he wasn't on the guest list. Trevor, immaculately dressed and holding an elaborately wrapped package, was employing his most charming smile, the one that had once convinced Olivia he could never intentionally hurt her. "It's all right." "Fareed," Olivia said, descending the stairs with deliberate grace. "I'll speak with him." Nikhil appeared instantly at her side, a protective presence without being possessive. "Are you sure?" Olivia nodded, squeezing his hand reassuringly. Together, they stepped onto the porch, closing the front door behind them to keep their conversation private from the celebration inside. "Trevor," Olivia acknowledged coolly. "This is unexpected." "Livy," he responded, his gaze taking in her pregnant form with an expression she couldn't quite interpret. "You're glowing. Motherhood suits you." "What are you doing here, Trevor? You weren't invited." He held out the package. "Peace offering. For the baby. I've been reflecting on our past, and I realize now I wasn't always fair to you." The non-apology was so typically Trevor that Olivia almost laughed. Even his attempts at reconciliation centered himself rather than acknowledging the harm he'd caused. "Thank you for the gesture," she replied evenly, making no move to accept the gift. "But I think it's best we maintain our distance." Trevor's facade slipped slightly, irritation flashing across his features. "Come on, Livy, we were married for 6 years. Surely we can be civilized now that we've both moved on. I hear Echodar's preparing for an IPO next quarter. Must be exciting times for your family." And there it was. the real motivation behind his sudden interest in amends. Not regret, not genuine care for her well-being, but calculation. Some things never changed. Our daughter will want for nothing, Nikhil stated quietly, his first contribution to the conversation, neither financially nor emotionally. Olivia has made her wishes clear, Mr. Reed. Trevor's expression hardened as he finally acknowledged Nikhil directly. This is between me and my ex-wife. No, Olivia interjected with calm certainty. There is no between anymore, Trevor. You made your opinions of me abundantly clear during our marriage and after our divorce. I don't need your approval or your gifts or your suddenly convenient interest in my life. You've changed, Trevor observed, an edge to his voice. No, Olivia corrected him. I've remembered who I always was beneath the doubt you cultivated. She placed a protective hand over her belly, feeling her daughter's reassuring movement. I wish you well, Trevor, genuinely, but our chapter is closed. As if on cue, the front door opened to reveal Danica. Everything okay out here? We're about to cut the cake. Perfect timing, Olivia smiled, turning away from Trevor without further acknowledgement. We're coming. Inside, surrounded by people who valued her for exactly who she was, Olivia felt the last lingering shadows of her past relationship finally dissipate. As Nikhil wrapped his arm around her waist, his touch a steady reminder of what healthy love felt like, she caught sight of her reflection in the hallway mirror. The woman looking back at her stood tall, eyes clear and confident, one hand cradling new life while the other remained entwined with her partner's. This was no fairy tale rescue by a billionaire prince. It was the story of a woman who had rescued herself, creating space for authentic connection only after reclaiming her own worth. Later that night, after their guests had departed and the brownstone had settled into peaceful quiet, Olivia and Nikhil sat in the nursery rocking chair, admiring the completed mural in the soft glow of the nightlight. I never told you why I approached you that day at the conference, Nikhil said softly. It wasn't just your questions during the panel. Oh? Olivia leaned back against his chest, curious. I overheard you in conversation with another attendee. He was dismissing sustainable design as a passing trend, and you were so passionately articulate in your defense, not confrontational, but absolutely unwavering. I remember thinking, there's someone who knows her own mind. Olivia smiled at the memory. That was the first day I truly felt like myself in years. That self is extraordinary, Nikhil murmured against her hair. And our daughter will know from her first breath that she comes from strength. Outside their window, the city continued its nighttime rhythm, lights flickering on and off, lives intersecting in countless ways. Somewhere across town, Trevor Reed was undoubtedly recalculating his next move, his world unchanged in its transactional nature. But here, in this room painted the color of dawn, Olivia Winters had found her full circle, not back to where she began, but to where she was always meant to be.